It's been clear from the outset that in order to prevail in this conflict, Iran simply needs to survive. It needs to be resilient enough to withstand the attacks from the US and Israel, and strong enough to inflict enough damage on them to prevent the attacks from continuing to come from them. So it was generally agreed that a long conflict would end up giving Iran the upper hand, and the best chance for the US and for Israel was to dominate and destroy Iran in a very short period of time. The first few days were therefore critical, and the expectation from a lot of people was that the US and Israel would be hitting the hardest in the first few days, and the question would be, can Iran survive past a week or two, in which case the balance might tip in their favour. What we've actually seen is that Iran has been arguably having the upper hand in the early exchanges. It's inflicted damage in ways that have never been experienced before. It's destroyed American air bases, it's bombed American embassies, it's sunk American ships, it's had a drone fly 800 kilometers across the sea and take pictures of the carrier fleet. It's been performing as strongly as it threatened it would if it came under attack, and certainly so showing no signs of cracking. I've heard the comment made that Iran called Trump's bluff. But did Iran call Trump's bluff? I don't think so, because Trump started the war. Trump made the call. And this is the bizarre thing, because Trump was the one who was bluffing. Trump didn't have a hand as strong as Iran's. Maybe he thought he did, even though he was advised by his own military that he didn't have a strong hand. If you haven't got a strong hand, the last thing you want to do is call. The last thing you want is to actually have this break out into a shooting war and see what each other has got. That's what Trump's done. He started this war. Iran has responded exactly as they said they would, with overwhelming retaliatory attacks to all US assets and allies and bases and embassies and so on in the region. And as predicted, the US and Israel are firing Tomahawks and various other missiles over that they will eventually run out of. They're firing all of their interceptor devices up to try to prevent the Iranian missiles from striking, but without success. They've already lost aircraft, they've lost ships. They are not in a dominant position. This is huge. With Iran surviving and giving as good as they get in these first few days, and Iran being in a position where it is prepared for the long haul, it is prepared to carry on this conflict for months. We now have a situation where the US and Israel, who have been previously able to impose themselves militarily almost at will, have found themselves or are finding themselves incapable of doing this now. This is a massive change to the balance of power and the balance of forces in West Asia, in this part of the world, but also globally. As well as the military damage, Iran is inflicting economic damage. It's harming the luxury spots in the Gulf that are all allied to American interests. It's taking out corporations that are supporting the American and Israeli war effort. The Amazon building's been blown up. There's been pictures of that. It's also closed the Strait of Hormuz to tankers, oil tankers that are linked with the aggressors. Apparently, it's allowing Chinese ones and other friendly ones to go through. All of this damage is taking its toll on the US. Iran is in an existential crisis. Iran is facing military aggression from the US and Israel, who have said that they are determined to destroy it as a country. So the chances of capitulation are effectively zero. Trump also is in an existential crisis, because the only way this could possibly end well for him is if he had a quick, victorious strike and was able to get out and claim victory. And he certainly hasn't been able to do it in the first few days, and I cannot see any possibility of how he might be able to achieve that out of this now. Certainly the chances of Iran cooperating with him as they did in June when they agreed to the ceasefire in June, we're not going to see a repeat of that. So Trump could be hung out to dry here. We've already seen some of his advisors in the US kind of distancing themselves from it. Oh, we didn't tell him to go, and this kind of thing. He has lined up with the aggressive warmongering neocons and the rabid Zionist Israel lobby, and the consequences for him for this will be really serious. He's got election coming up, midterms at the end of the year. He was already unpopular. This was a big gamble for him, and it is likely to sink his presidency. Beyond that, it is also likely to severely undermine the US position in the world. Since the end of the Cold War, the US has been able to strut around, convincing both itself and the rest of the world that if push comes to shove, it can move in and it can militarily impose itself anywhere in the world. All the big talking that Trump has been delivering towards Iran, you know, if you don't do this, we will come and sort you out and destroy you. The US has been able to send that message one way or another for decades. And this conflict is likely to mean that they can't do it again. This conflict will expose their military as no longer being the world dominant power. The US really only fights wars, only wants to fight wars where it doesn't have casualties. It wants asymmetric warfare. It wants to just attack indefensible people. The Zionists do too, actually. For years, the IDF operated by terrorizing Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and people just had to take it. And it's only really since the October 2023 when Hamas and other Palestinian forces started fighting back, that the IDF came across actual people fighting back, and suddenly they weren't so powerful. Same thing with the US. This is the first time they've really had serious opponent fighting back at them, and they are not doing very well. Israel was not able to destroy Hamas, despite all that carpet bombing, despite all of the money and power and explosives and high-tech surveillance and everything else, destroying Gaza with the help of all the Western powers and the best technology and all the resources in the world. They still weren't able to destroy Hamas. The US took on the Houthis, Ansar Allah, in the Red Sea, and they weren't even able to take out that small group. They have really met their match in Iran. And Iran, I think, is in no mood to compromise. Trump's already saying, come on and have talks. After twice in a row, Trump has bombed them in the middle of having talks. There is no trust there anymore. So Trump simply has no off-ramp anymore. He had plenty of off-ramps to avoid this conflict. He chose to start this war. He chose to start this war, but he cannot choose to finish it. Only Iran can decide to finish it. And so it looks as though the US and Israel are being dragged, held into this conflict that they started, that will drag them down. Their defense systems are running out. They have a finite amount of attack possibilities. Their vain hope that some mythical popular uprising in Iran would help them out, that isn't going to happen. Their absurd thought that assassinating somebody like the Iranian supreme leader would help them just shows how ignorant they are of who they are dealing with, of the standing that Ayatollah Khamenei had with the Iranian people. They don't understand that. They have no understanding of that at all. They don't know what they've got themselves in for. This conflict has already caused a lot of loss of life, and it will cause more suffering and death and hardship. But just from the early stages, it's looking like it is also going to usher in a monumental change in geopolitics, a major change in power relations in the world. That the power of the US and the power of Israel has been called, and they will be shown to be nowhere near as strong as they were. And when people stand up against them like that, and countries are able to defy them, that changes the game. That changes the game radically. It changes the game for the whole world. And my hope is that one consequence of this dreadful conflict is that we may be moving into an era where that constant threat of violence and aggression from the US and Israel can be defeated once and for all.